Lesson 3rd. Lucy. The tea will be quite cold. You would better ring for some more, said the dowager Lady Beanford. Susan Lady Beanford was a vigorous old woman who had conquered with imaginary ill health for the greater part of a lifetime. Clovis Sangrail irreverently declared that she had caught a chill at the coronation of Queen Victoria and had never let it go again. Her sister Jane Throplestance, who was some years her junior, was chiefly remarkable for being the most absent-minded woman in Middlesex. I have really been unusually clever this afternoon, she remarked gaily as she ran for the tea. I have called on all the people I mean to call on, and I have done all the shopping that I set out to do. I even remembered to try and match that silk for you at Harrods, but I would forgotten to bring the pattern with me, so it was no use. I really think that was the only important thing I forgot during the whole afternoon. Quite wonderful for me, isn't it? What have you done with Lucy? Asked her sister. Didn't you take her out with you? You said you were going to. Good gracious, exclaimed Jane. What have I done with Lucy? I must have left her somewhere. But where? That's just it. Where have I left her? I can't remember if the Carrywoods were at home or I just left cards. If they were at home, I may have left Lucy there to play bridge. I will go and telephone to Lord Carrywood and find out. Is that you, Lord Carrywood? She queried over the telephone. It's me, Jane Throplestance. I want to know, have you seen Lucy? Lucy, came the answer. It's been my fate to see it 3 times. At first, I must admit, I wasn't impressed by it. But the music grows on one after a bit. Still, I don't think I want to see it again just at present. Were you going to offer me a seat in your box? Not the opera Lucy, my niece. Lucy Throplestance. I thought I might have left her at your house. You left cards on us this afternoon, I understand, but I don't think you left a niece. The footman would have been sure to have mentioned it if you had. Is it going to be a fashion to leave nieces on people as well as cards? I hope not. Some of these houses in Berkeley Square have practically no accommodation for what sort of thing. She is not at the Carrywoods, announced Jane, returning to her tea. Now I come to think of it, perhaps I left her at the silk counter at Selfridge's. I may have told her to wait there a moment while I went to look at the silks in a better light, and I may easily have forgotten about her when I found I hadn't your pattern with me. In that case, she is still sitting there. She wouldn't move unless she was told to. Lucy has no initiative. You said you tried to match the silk at Harrods, interjected the dowager. Did I? Perhaps it was Harrods. I really don't remember. It was one of those places where everyone is so kind and sympathetic and devoted that one almost hates to take even a reel of cotton away from such pleasant surroundings. I think you might have taken Lucy away. I don't like the ideas of her being there among a lot of strangers. Supposing some unprincipled person was to get into conversation with her. Impossible, Lucy has no conversation. I have never discovered a single topic on which she would anything to say beyond, "Do you think so?" I dare say you are right. I really thought her reticence about the fall of Reboot Ministry was ridiculous, considering how much her dear mother used to visit Paris. This bread and butter is cut far too thin. It crumbles away long before you can get it to your mouth. One feels so absurd snapping at one's food in midair like a trout leaping at mayfly. I am rather surprised, said the dowager, that you can sit there making a hot tea when you have just lost a favorite niece. You talk as if I would lost her in a churchyard sense instead of having temporarily misled her. I'm sure to remember presently where I left her. You didn't visit any place of devotion, did you? If you have left her mooning about Westminster Abbey or St. Peter's Eton Square without being able to give any satisfactory reason why she is there, she will be seized under the Cat and Mouse Act and sent to Reginald McKenna. That would be extremely awkward, said Jane, meeting an irresolute piece of bread and butter halfway. We hardly know the McKennas, and it would be very tiresome having to telephone to some unsympathetic private secretary describing Lucy to him and asking to have her sent back in time for dinner. Fortunately, I didn't go to any place of devotion, though I did get mixed up with the Salvation Army procession. It was quite interesting to be at close quarters with them. They are so absolutely different to what they used to be when I first remembered them in the 80s. They used to go about then unkempt and disheveled in a sort of smiling rage with the world, and now they are spruce and jaunty and flamboyantly decorative like a geranium bed with religious convictions. Laura Cattleway was going on about them in the lift of the Dover Street tube the other day, saying what a lot of good work they did and what a loss it would have been if they would never existed. If they had never existed, I said, Granville Barker would have been certain to have invented something that looked exactly like them. If you say that like that, quite loud in a tube lift, they always sound like epigrams. I think you ought to do something about Lucy, said the dowager. I am trying to think whether she was with me when I called on Ada Spelvexit. I rather enjoyed myself there. Ada was trying, as usual, to ram that odious Carioto of Physici woman down my throat, knowing perfectly well that I detest her, and in an unguarded moment she said she is leaving her present house and going to Lower Seymour Street. I dare say She will, if she stays there long enough, said. Ada didn't see it for about 3 minutes and then she was positively uncivil. No, I'm certain I didn't leave Lucy there. If you could manage to remember where you did leave her, it would be more to the point than these negative assurances, said Lady Beanford. So far, all we know is that she is not at the Carey Woods, or Ada's Palvixits, or Westminster Abbey. That narrows the search down a bit, said Jane hopefully. I rather fancy she must have been with me when I went to Mornay's. I know I went to Mornay's because I remember meeting that delightful Malcolm. What's his name there? You know whom I mean. That's the great advantage of people having unusual first names. You need not try and remember what their name is, what their other name is. Of course, I know one or two other Malcolms, but none that could possibly be described as delightful. He gave me 2 tickets for the Happy Sunday evenings in Sloane Square. I have probably left them at Monet's, but still it was awfully kind of him to give them to me. Do you think you left Lucy there? I might telephone and ask, oh Robert, before you clear the tea things away, I wish you would ring up Moray's in Regent Street and ask if I left 2 theatre tickets and 1 niece in their shop this afternoon. A niece, ma'am? Asked the footman. Yes, Miss Lucy didn't come home with me and I am not sure where I left her. Miss Lucy has been upstairs all the afternoon, ma'am, reading to the second kitchen maid who has the neuralgia. I took up tea to Miss Lucy at 4:45, ma'am. Of course. How silly of me. I remember now. I asked her to read the Fairy Queen to poor Emma. To try to send her to sleep, I always get someone to read the Fairy Queen to me when I have neuralgia, and it usually sends me to sleep. Lucy doesn't seem to have been successful, but one can't say she hasn't tried. I expect after the first hour or so the kitchen maid would rather have been left alone with her neuralgia. But of course Lucy wouldn't leave off till someone told her to. Anyhow, you can ring up Mornay's, Robert, and ask whether I left 2 theatre tickets there. Except for your silk, Susan, those seem to be the only things I have forgotten this afternoon. Quite wonderful for me. Word meaning. Dowager, a widow with a title. Vigorous, energetic. Coquetted, a woman who flirts. Irrelevantly, rudely. Queried, questioned. Initiative, inventiveness. Reticence, silence. Absurd, silly. Diswelled, untidy. Spruce, neat. Jaunty, jolly. Flamboyant, fleshy. Conviction, belief. Epigrams, saying. Odious, hateful. Let's learn grammar. Past tense. The past tense indicates action that occurred in the past and which does not extend into the present. The simple past tense is marked by the ending d, ed or t. Irregular verbs have a variety of endings. The simple past is not accompanied by helping verbs. It can also be used with a habitual sense to refer to a series of past events that occurred on a regular basis. Every morning I walked to the office no matter the weather. Past perfect tense. The past perfect tense designates an action which has been completed before another past action. Formed with the auxiliary had and the past participle of a verb, the past perfect indicates a time further back in the past than the present perfect of the simple past tense. Past continuous tense. A word construction made up of a past form of the verb to be, was or were plus a present participle that conveys a sense on ongoing action in the past. The simple past tense, for example, work, is used to describe an action that has been completed. The past continuous, was or were working, is used to describe an action that was in progress at some point in the past.